In a world accelerating faster than ever, true leaders rise, not by chance, but by choice. Welcome to the Unshakable Voice, where leaders are forged, performers are built, and mindsets are turned from fragile to unshakable. Be ready to unlock high-performance habits and be ready to master the art of complexity. Please welcome the leadership strategist, high-performance coach, a leader in innovation, and your host for the show, Dr. Nigel Smart.
Well, welcome to the Unshakable Voice podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nigel Smart, and today we're going to be discussing navigating change like a leader in a time of exponential, crazy social and business change. You know, people say to me all the time, Nigel, there's so many changes going on. How do I deal with this? How do I manifest different way of doing things in today's world? I don't know how to do this. We're uptight. We don't know how to become that new person that can handle the new environment that we're living in. What sort of mindset shifts do I need to make? What sort of playbook do I need? I don't know how to do this. Is there a blueprint? Is there a playbook that you can share with me? And I say, well, if I got a deal for you today, please buckle up, because today I'm going to introduce you to an incredible gentleman. Let me tell you a little bit about him first. This gentleman is an international global coach. He's a mindset transformation guru, like up there with the best of people that we all know by heart, by name. He's a coach. He has wonderful results with industry, with corporations, with solopreneurs, with peak performers, with entrepreneurs, all the people that are in our audience today. So please do, like me, pick up your phone, pick up your pen, should I say, not your phone, pick up your pen, grab a pad, and listen to what this person's going to share with you. It's with great pride I'm going to introduce you now to the founder of Lutes International from San Diego, California, Mr. Jim Lutes. Jim.
Well, hello, Nigel, and thank you. It's an honor. We've connected through mutual connections, and it's just an honor to be on here. You know, I heard great things about you, and to everybody out there, hello from San Diego, California. They call me the unicorn downtown because they go, "Where do you live, Jim?" And I say, "San Diego." And they go, "Where did you grow up?" I said, "San Diego." They go, "Where were you born?" I said, "San Diego." And they say, "We never met one of you before," because transient town, a lot of people, but definitely an honor to be on here. I will share whatever I can with your beloved audience. The objective here is to progress people from where they're at to where they want to be, and get that release the brakes, take the foot off the brake pedal, so they can get there sooner than later.
So with that in hand, then Jim, let's throw out this first sort of question or this first idea. You know, if given that there is a social change going on, given that people are recognizing, I don't know what to do, how would you start with people in terms of giving them that mindset change, that flipping the script, that thing that will create that meaningful transformation in their lives that's going to then transcend to how they're doing their business, for example?
Sure, exactly. So a very common question, and there's a tactical answer, and then there's a more mind answer. You see a lot of mindset things out there, and I'm not saying they're not valid. It's just a very common term, that's thrown out there. I've been in the industry 30 years, and all of my expertise is in modalities of the human mind, inclusive of hypnosis. I own the National Academy of Hypnosis, Neurolinguistic Programming, thing called psychosomatic parenthetics, something called psychoneuroimmunology, which is the mind-body connection. That's my oceanography. So just from a fundamental standpoint, people are, they're not robots. And so they always have a predisposition to fall into addictions, whether that be drugs, alcohol, or this thing right here. And so what happens is when you're out, I have a friend of mine, he's in real estate in San Diego. I'm not joking. He is 44 years old, sharp guy, right? I watch him, and literally he cannot go 8 minutes without picking this thing up. He can't do it, whether he's eating breakfast, whether he's on the couch, whether he's walking, whatever he's doing, he's addicted to the dopamine hit that he gets from social media. So where I'm going with that, there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to mitigate your own overwhelm in the synaptic response of the brain. There's no recuperative period. So even before he goes to bed, he's on his phone. The second he wakes up, he's on his phone, looking at things that aren't really relevant to his success. Are they interesting? Very. Are there things you can think of that you want to look up? Very. However, that's an expenditure of time, not an investment of time. And even a boxer needs to rest a minute between rounds.
Good point.
So if we understand where our mental capacity lies, that has indirectly shifted the focus of many people away from whether it be income producing activities, whether it be a harmonious, loving relationship, whether it be a relationship with yourself, your health, whatever that is. So I challenged this gentleman one time. I said, I go to the gym every day. And I said, why don't you come to the gym with me? And let's work out for 45 minutes, but you're not allowed to look at your phone. And he goes, what about to change the songs? No, you're not allowed to have music. So you can't do 45 minutes of time spent in a focused state on the activity at hand, because that addiction forces those individuals to do that. So input equals output. Focus and discipline and tenacity and drive and vision are the attributes of any successful entrepreneur. And a lot of entrepreneurs, I know you have an entrepreneurial audience, a lot of entrepreneurs, they know what to do, but they don't do what they know. And I'm going to close this question off with this. There's a difference between an employee and an entrepreneur, and nothing is wrong with either one. They're all fine. However, an employee eases themselves into the day. They get up, they stretch, they hit the snooze button 1, 2, or 3 times. They say, only 5 more minutes, and then I have to get up. And then they get up and they waddle into the kitchen. They make the coffee. They rub their eyes, and then they sit down and look at their phone while the coffee's brewing. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but condensed focus and activity is what every millionaire entrepreneur does. They get into the day, the minute their eyes open, they can't wait to get out of bed and get busy on whatever their personal goals are. And so that addiction to the drive is just something that most successful entrepreneurs have, because they're not really working. Tell Pablo Picasso to stop painting. He doesn't want to. Tell Beyonce to stop singing. She doesn't want to. Tell a tennis pro to stop playing tennis. Mm-hmm. They have all the money in the world. They're not going to do it because they're not really working. They're heading toward that goal and that dream. So my strategies and tactics show them how to take the foot off the brake pedal. Because let's face it, Nigel, they're working as hard as they think they're working. However, they have one foot on the brake pedal. So the expenditure of effort increases. But once you take the cognitive subconscious foot off the brake pedal, the car goes twice as fast without any more effort.
Right. I see that. Do you think that then for the employee that basically it's a habitual thing, that they have got themselves so conditioned that they've forgotten how to take the foot off the pedal, or they were never motivated in the first place?
Well, they might not be motivated, and that's perfectly okay. I mean, I have friends that have a wonderful 9-to-5 job. They get home, they make dinner, they plop on the couch and watch Netflix. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But you can't say you want more without becoming more. You can't sit and watch Netflix and say, gosh, I wish I was a millionaire. Then why aren't you a millionaire? In America and other countries as well. But if you want to know about water, you don't ask a fish, because a fish doesn't notice the water because it's around it its whole life. Right. If you want to know about the American free enterprise system, you don't ask an American. They don't see it because they're academically conditioned to move up an academic ladder, and that's the only way that they can progress their income. That is not true. This is not true. That's why you see people come from other countries and become millionaires in their 30s. And they ask me, they come to my seminars and events, and they go, Jim, what is the matter with all these people? Like the land of opportunity, right? They see it from a distance. People are just conditioned to work for somebody else. And you'll see this, and there's nothing wrong with it. Again, you're going to hear me say that multiple times, but you'll see the fact that I'm an employee and I'm also the boss.
Right.
Because
I think that's the difference, isn't it?
So are you. I'm self-employed.
Right.
If I want to be, let's just say millionaire. If I want, or healthy, anything. If I want to be millionaire, I need to have a tough boss.
Right.
I mean, technically, both of us probably could just take the rest of the day off and do nothing, because there's nobody that's punishing us if we just sit and do nothing. So there has to be that self-accountability that stems from the mind in the first place. The mind is not the brain. The mind is something that is much more infinite. The brain is an organ. You can't set the mind on the table. You can set the brain on the table. So using certain strategies, tactics, and methodologies, life is ticking. Nobody's getting any younger. And so it's time to integrate some of these so you have more time in life, to enjoy it.
Right. That's certainly the case. It's interesting how you are equating success with accountability, because people really don't want to. That's why I asked you the question: Is there a roadmap? I think if you can give them a bit of a blueprint and say, okay, you got to put these 3 or 4 things together, and then check your thing off, and then you give them almost like a timeline, almost like a punch list, like you would do for project management. If you were building a building or something. I always tell people, well, let's track your performance, because I'm a great data guy, obviously. And I always say, okay, did we meet this? Did we meet that? Did we meet this? Because if you're not reinforcing, as you say, you don't get that habitual sort of implantation or imprinting into the consciousness, so it becomes non-conscious. Yeah.
That would apply to structure and goal setting, etc. So I can give you a plan, regardless of what age you are, to get in the best shape of your life, physical shape. And this piece of paper tells you what to eat and when to eat it.
Right.
This tells you what exercises to do and when to do them. The problem, they don't do it.
That's true.
The accountability is sitting there in front of you, but here comes now's not a good day. I don't feel good enough. As soon as I've got too much going on, I'm too busy. So that cognitive whirlwind of excuses and procrastinations occur. It's not that hard to get in good shape for most people.
Right.
If indeed they say that's what they want. Now, I have friends that are not in good shape and they don't really care. So I'm not there to tell them what they need to do, relationships or anything else. So what you're saying is absolutely a necessity to have a tracking system.
Right.
However, let's say that there's a road and you want to get to the end of that road as quickly as possible. And you being the data guy, me not being the data guy, you would have a structured, here's the gas station, here's how many miles we can get, and here's this, and here's the detour, everything else. That's a structural. What's in the road is brush. And it's inhibiting the progression of the car down the road. Now, we don't have a game plan for that other than let's get in there and remove the brush.
Right.
We don't have, let's move this piece first, and then every day we move another piece. We don't know, what brush is inhibiting. So in the mind, we don't know what thought patterns and either throughout our life or environmentally, we're programmed 3 ways: authority figure, repetition, and traumatic incident.
Right.
Those are the 3 that inhibit success or accelerate. Let me give you a quick example. Most people in the United States, and rightly so, teach their little children, don't talk to strangers, don't talk to strangers, don't talk to strangers.
Right.
Probably a good thing. Okay. There's Mexico right there. If I go over that window and I look, I can see Tijuana, Mexico.
Right.
They tell them the exact opposite. You go talk to every stranger you see, and we will live a better life as a family, because they're out selling gum or whatever they're selling to people, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So with most Americans and others, and other people, they're programmed through repetition, parents, and traumatic incident. Look what happened to the little girl on TV. Right. And so when they get into sales, or they get into self-motivated arenas, or they get into direct sales, or anything they get into, they've got their foot on the brake pedal because they're programmed that something bad may happen if they go out and talk to complete strangers. So that brings me to the next point. The number one, in my personal opinion, 30 years, that holds people back is fear of criticism and need for approval.
Yeah.
Fear of criticism and need for approval. Once you no longer think or care what other people think, the world's your oyster.
Uh-huh. And do you think that in American society here, that we crave approval? We're looking to be that visually recognized. One of the things that I personally don't like and don't hold with, there is a habit here of participation trophies, which I think kills ambition, because it kills the idea of I want to be the best. I want to be top dog. Mm-hmm. And I think we're both martial artists. I think we're both black belts. Mm-hmm. I'm in Taekwondo. I don't know if yours karate or what, but I've done that for more than 10 years. And the beautiful part about that, I always call that skills for life, because the things that it teaches you, integrity, focus, discipline, repetition is a mother of skill type of thing. Mm-hmm. Is that you do things incrementally. The grandmaster from Korea that partially trained me was as complicated as some of the routines and patterns that we would do. He would always take us back to the things we did when we were doing a white belt. Mm-hmm. And he would say, I want that to be, you're a third degree or fourth degree black belt. You should be able to do the white belt stuff so much better, and never forget that. So it would take you back to fundamentals and get the fundamentals right and keep building on those. And I think I'm listening to you. One of the things that we talk about accountability, and bringing it to something that is easy for people to kind of visualize or recognize is, if you're in the gym, if you're doing something physical, having an accountability coach. Exercising on your own is tough, because it requires a lot more discipline. When you're actually working in a group, or at least 2 or 3 people, it's also almost subliminal. You're challenging each other, and it's taking no emotional energy out of you. I think that some of the things that hold people back at times is that they're having to put so much emotional intention into what they're doing that it wears them out, and so they get tired and they procrastinate eventually, and they quit.
Yeah, but that has exactly to do with their programming and their mind programming. Because conversely, there's people that don't have that issue.
Yes.
And so, it's not unilaterally applied to all the human race. So at the end of the day, sure, accountability coach, et cetera. At some point, the little eaglet needs to jump out of the nest and fly on its own.
Right.
At some point, if you want, success in, otherwise blame becomes, my partner couldn't make it to the gym today, so you're not going to go.
Right.
So there needs to be that inherent confidence. What I'm a big believer of is accelerating the path. And so, there isn't like an ABC for everybody. There is in your context, but everybody's variations are different. People have gone through trauma. People have gone through lack of self-esteem and self-motivation, and they vary. So what my strategies and tactics do, they utilize programming techniques. It's not mindset. It's not affirmations. Nothing wrong with any of that, but they're fleeting. And so my strategies, the reason I've worked with celebrities, I've worked with world poker champions. Cindy Violette, the world poker champion legend, has worked with me. I work with people that know that this is the last frontier for them to hit that gold medal in the Olympics or whatever that is. And I don't even do that many private clients anymore, unless they have that level of success, already. I mostly do events and trainings and seminars. And I have a training and an event I do called Millionaire Mind Design. Right. And the reason I do that is because, I'm talking statistics. You like statistics. So I'm talking statistics. Money motivates the majority of people, even if they say it doesn't.
Yes.
It does. Then send all your money to Nigel if you don't need the money. So money motivates people. And here's the trick. When they attend Millionaire Mind Design, they fly to San Diego from all over the world. When they attend that, once you have that excitation that I'm going to make, double my income, triple my income, add 100 grand, whatever that is, guess what else falls in place? Health, relationships, and emotions. Now the 4 cylinders are pumping, but that initial drive was exciting to them. It's more exciting than other things. So the reason I designed that is I want them to come to the trainings with excitement, anticipation of the result. But the other 3 areas, emotions, relationships, and health, just have a concert ability to integrate as well. And when they leave, all of a sudden the brush is out of the road. Now a decision doesn't seem so trying. 3 of the things, you've seen it, you've been an entrepreneur. 3 of the things I'm kind of joking around with my friends and go, I'm so tired of hearing this. And I'm going to get up this week and here's what I'm going to hear again. Now's not a good time. I don't have the money. I've got too much going on. And as soon as ...
Yeah.
Paralyze people right where they're at. And they grab onto those like a life raft. It's never a good time. You're always going to have something going on. You find the money.
Jim, you mentioned you had three things. You said the fear, the criticism, and need for approval was the most important. Remind our audience what the other ones were.
Of the other, need for approval. Well, no, what I said was need for approval, fear of criticism is the one inhibiting factor that I see that holds people back. I was mentioning how the subconscious mind is programmed, which is traumatic incident, authority figure, and repetition.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of a company called Nike?
Yes, I have.
What's their slogan?
I can't remember.
That's probably a good thing because it's just do it.
Yeah, just do it. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, most people would recall that, but did they memorize it?
No.
Michael Jordan, authority figure, repetition, advertising. Now, here's the thing. Here's the scary part. You can't get it out of your head.
Yes.
It's installed, and you can't remove it. So what else is installed? You're not good enough. You're not good looking enough. You're not rich enough. You're not smart enough. You can't ever be anything. Why can't you be like your brother? On and on and on, repetition. And then they grow up with that inhibiting factor that maybe they were made fun of in school. So now they have fear of criticism. And we're programmed in junior high school, maybe even grade school, to junior high to be accepted. The right hairstyle, the right crowd, the right music, the right cars, the right clothes. And then when we get out in the real world, it's very difficult for people to be able to roll through people that don't accept them the way they are. And so that's where the programming takes place, almost like a filter to where those people just bounce off. Maybe they have relevant info, constructive criticism, but they don't impede your success. So the subconscious is programmed primarily in alpha state brainwaves. So you ask for a blueprint. It's the long road, but that's okay. It's like playing the guitar. There's no shortcut. It's how much time you practice. And so same with martial arts, right? There's no shortcut to black belt. And so, when you wake up in the morning, you're coming from the deeper brain waves through alpha into beta, which is awake. So at that time, you have to be very self-conscious about what you're saying. Are you waking up and worrying about things, or fear of failure, fear of success, thinking that things are going to go wrong, not right? Conversely, when you go to sleep at night, you're going from beta down to alpha, then theta and delta. And that when you're going to sleep tonight, it needs to be the things that are associated with your goal. The subconscious mind cannot differentiate what is imagined and what is real.
Right. Yes, that's quite true.
People, I'm just going to use the same thing. When I program people to be a millionaire, they don't, a bag of money doesn't fall off the truck. What happens though is their reticular activating system activates, and they become hyper aware of conversations that they probably could have heard before, but the radar wasn't on. And when you do that, then you're incorporating your environment, to get you into where you want to be. In conjunction with that, your self-esteem and self-image raises. I have a student of mine, her name is Emma. She's a confidence coach. And she goes, Jim, will you help me with my marketing? And I said, sure, I'll do that. I'm pretty good at it. And so I asked her, I go, who needs confidence? And she said, everybody. It's not true. That's hyperbole. I don't need confidence. I would never buy your confidence course. I don't need it. So you're looking for people that are your dynamic of people that say, I'm done with where I'm at and I need to move forward. So let me, if you may, I want to just elaborate on one thing. Why people ask me all the time, Jim, what is the difference between you and John or Tony or Lisa, all these other people? And I said, well, there is a difference. And the difference is I don't sell a program, training, or seminar. They go, what do you mean? But I've been to your millionaire mind design. I've been to your deep dive about your mind masterpiece. Yeah, I don't sell that. What I do is I sell a person on themselves first to move into a new identity.
Right.
Well, that's critical because here's why. Most people watching this right now, or in an audience somewhere, I already know what they're feeling. Most people, not everybody. They're feeling, well, now's not a good time. I don't know. I mean, what if it doesn't work? What if should I take a risk? That is the old identity from a subconscious programming standpoint saying, stay here in the old identity.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
Stay here because it's comfortable here. Now, why does that old identity get so defensive? It gets defensive because it knows, the old version of you knows that if you move to the new identity of being an incredible, improved version of yourself, the old identity dies.
Yes.
It doesn't want to die. It wants to, it's self-preservation. So it holds people there. Once you say to a person, I just said this yesterday to a gentleman that was actually stopped by the house. I said, you have a point of decision here. Do you want to honor the old identity or do you want to honor the new identity? One keeps you where you're at and one moves you forward. So it's a simple decision that and it takes bravery, right? It's going out, it's jumping out of an airplane, so it takes some bravery, but those are the people that succeed.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, it's segued in quite nicely there because I wanted to talk about emotional mastery and identity over tactics. Mm-hmm. And you kind of glossed over those, or maybe we can probe that a little bit more because one of the things that you said there was you need a new identity. One of the things that I always tell people is, it's going to be uncomfortable when you're making changes. It's uncomfortable because you're doing what's not comes naturally, and you've got this imprinting that we talked about that you've mentioned that has been conditioned into you from early on in life, and then also through professional life, where you might have been in corporate and now you're wanting to go and do things on your own. This is what kind of differentiates the corporate person or the employee from the entrepreneur, that you have to break through that. It's almost like a glass ceiling. You've got to or crash through, almost like you've almost got to be a stuntman or a commando that crashes through a movie set. You've got to crash through something because you've got to get comfortable with it being uncomfortable. And that always says, I always tell people that sounds like an oxymoron, which I suppose it is. But if you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, it means you're stretching. You're in a place. And my belief system is that once you get familiar with that feeling, then you start to experience growth and you kind of expand exponentially very, very quickly to acquire that new capability. Mm-hmm. Your one of the things that you just said there was the old identity needs to die. I've coached guys. One of my books is
I said it wants to die.
Yeah. It doesn't want to die, but it needs to.
It does. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't want to die. Yeah, because it's defending where you're at.
Because it's defending where you are. And I've said, before you can move on in a relationship, like a divorce, and I went through this, and that's why I wrote my book, because I recognized it. I understood. I've been in and around what we're talking about today for 20, 30 years, and I made the decision. I got to become somebody different. I've got to let go. And I teach people, I say, you've got to let that piece, you've got to let a piece of that old relationship die. Otherwise, you can't step through the door. And the other side of the door is your future. And it's the future state, as I call it. And at that point, I would map, who do you want to be now? Who do you want, in your case, who do you want Jim Prime to be? And what things do you want to let go of that was Jim? And that enables you to segue and smoothly kind of transition. It's very uncomfortable, as you've pointed out, but most people want to bring their stuff with them. And it's like a bad smell. Do you want to bring a bad smell with you? No, of course not. But it's how do you, in your wisdom, how do you get people to let go? How do you get people to identify that piece needs to die before they can move forward?
Sure. If you can do me a favor and just pick up your pin again and hold it in front of the camera. Okay, there you go. Just hold on to that. So when are you going to let the pin go?
When am I going to let the pen go?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
No, what, are you going to hold it for every day, 24 hours a day for the rest?
No, I see.
When are you going to let the pin go?
I would say when I'm at that point where I've had that realization that holding the pen is stopping me from doing everything else.
Great. So when is that?
Now.
Exactly. You can set the pin down.
Yeah.
When are you going to let the horrific divorce you went through go? When are you going to let bankruptcy go? When are you going to let the health challenge go? There's a decision of not what do you need first, what do you need to let go? And then when are you going to let it go? When are you going to let it go to where you can, exactly what you said, is that now you can take that dynamic and that energy and that programming and apply it to your new identity. Now, here's the benefit of the way that I do it. Logic means nothing to anybody. In logic, lots of things make sense logically.
Uh-huh.
Right? One of the rules of the subconscious is imagination overrides knowledge.
Right.
For most people out there's always the disagreeers, but they would know that saturated fats and salt and cheese and all the rest of this stuff it attributes to heart disease. Let's just go with that. I know I always get the people that disagree, but let's go ahead and say that it does. Okay. So that's knowledge. So why are you eating the pizza? Right. You already know intellectually that it's killing you. But imagination of, wow, pepperoni and cheese. I've had a hard week. I worked so hard. I closed that deal. I'm going to celebrate. Imagination overrides knowledge in every single case. So what I do with in seminars, or I can do it right now, everybody watching, speed your heart rate up. And I know there's a yogi in everything, but go ahead and speed your heart rate up. You can't do it. Sweat. You can't do it. Kick your adrenal glands in. You can't do it. You are incapable of doing that because you're functioning consciously. If you had a dream tonight, a nightmare that there was an intruder coming in, and he had a knife and he was going to harm you, you'd wake up, pop, 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 pop. Cardiovascular system, sweating, adrenals. Why? There's no threat now, and there's no legitimate threat then. Your subconscious thought it was real, and everything else reacted. When I program somebody, literally through techniques of programming, utilizing all the modalities we previously discussed, they really think they're a millionaire. Right. Just like they really thought there was an intruder. Now, all of the physicalities, all of the reticular act goes to work to make that happen because the subconscious mind thinks it's real and it hates a non-equilibrium. So it starts to level up the conditions and relinquish the fears and increase the self-esteem and confidence, whatever attributes need to be in place. It has somewhere to go because it's in conflict. The subconscious saying you're a millionaire or you're healthy or a relationship, whatever that is, the subconscious, now it has to find that equilibrium with the reality to get you there. So most people, and by no fault of their own, they are thermometers.
Right. Yes, it's true.
They react to the outside environment, up and down and up and down. They want to program into their mind being a thermostat to where you have a preset temperature or income or relationship, or whatever that is that you want. It has to be programmed in just like a mechanism on a thermostat. And now, guess what? Everything outside adjusts to hit that set point.
Yes. Right. I see that. I hope everybody's making that connection because it is quite true. One of the things that in my world, which is a lot of tech stuff and a lot of tech people I deal with, one of the things we're trying to do and use the same ideas is, look, if we want to build something that's completely different, if we only use the same things that everybody else is doing, then we're going to get the generic version, the vanilla version of what everybody else has got. And even applying artificial intelligence, yes, it will get there quicker. Yes, it'll give us permutations, but it's a linear type of improvement. One of the things that, and it's dependent upon our conscious thinking. And what we're trying to get people to do is use unconscious thinking. So we're into that intuitive state. We're into that faster brainwaves 5, 6 times, 10 times. An analogy that I like to use, Jim, is I say, the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels, the aerobatics teams. I say, they're flying in formation at 18 inches apart at almost Mach 1 or something like that, where they're doing these aerobatics. They're all Top Gun type pilots. They're all brilliant, and they've been trained consciously to do certain maneuvers. But like we see with birds or the fish, they all react together. They're acting. The way they can do their aerobatics is they're operating their machines intuitively. Their movements now are intuitive, and they have to be. They're not thinking consciously. They're thinking in an intuitive sense, and that allows them to make these incredible aerobatic moves in the same way that it prevents them from colliding when they're only a foot or two apart from each other. And using that type of approach enables us to say, look, you can elevate yourself to a higher level, which now is accessing different thought processes, if you want to call them. Accessing different thought processes, that's where the potential innovation could be, because now we're playing with a different deck of rules or deck of cards that enable us to come up with the true original unique type of whatever your thing is, whether it's a car or a drug or something like that somebody may be developing, and it puts you on a different path than on this linear approach that everybody else is using. So it's nice to hear you say that, because I can relate to that, and hopefully I can relate that to some of our audience that are coming from a more technical background, perhaps. We talked about the identity. You've been very clear about that we have to have the identity, to use your example of the millionaire, and then we orientate our whole attitude, if you want to call it that, and our habits to being a millionaire. And because the mind doesn't know what's real and what's Memorex, for example. Remember that commercial from the 90s? Is it real or is it Memorex?
Yeah,
it doesn't know.
I wasn't born yet, Nigel. But...
Love it. But I don't know if you remember that one, but I mean, I always try to quote that to more mature people that I'm working with, because it's a perfect. It conveys that point that your mind can't separate, if you like, the reality from what you're telling it, provided you condition in the right way. And you're the master at conditioning. I'm not, but I still manage to convince people that we can do that. So let's link the other piece in that you mentioned, the emotional side. How do we get the emotional mastery to play with this identity thing that enables us now to make that if you like, a critical attribute to separate us as leaders from people that are followers, for example?
Sure. One of the ways to do it, I know you're a tactician. One of the ways to do it is to observe your thoughts. And I mean that not just haphazard. I mean actually third party. Okay, you're over here, observe your thoughts. And then you need to select which ones you're going to let go and discard. You are the pilot of the airplane. You are the person that decides what ingredients go into the recipe. But instead of just having the rapid thoughts go through, what you're going to do, you're going to observe them. And now you become, you initiate control, self-control for the first time for many people. And they have the thought of thinking, getting a little angry about their ex. That one's going. That does not serve me toward my health, emotions, money, or anything else. You're out. You can use words. You can use anchoring, cancel. Once it becomes a conditioned response, that goes away. And then it's very simple to start to just do that as an ongoing process. I'm not a robot. If I get up in the morning and I feel like somebody did something unethical, I'll deal with it in my business. I'll deal with it, but I'm not gonna let that thought seed grow roots. It's not serving anybody. It's not serving my progression. So I'm proud to be in control of my thoughts. Sometimes that third party, once removed observation is simple enough. They've just never done that. So all the thoughts start to grow roots. It's interesting because there's a difference between self-awareness and self-observation.
Right.
Self-awareness means I know I'm sitting here on a webinar. I know I'm sitting with Nigel. I know I'm in San Diego. That's self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Self-observation is me being up there watching me.
Right.
Is that the person I want to be? Is that the person I'm proud of? Is that the person my children are proud of? Is that the person I want other people to see? And that initiates action on its own in many times. So I have a friend of mine, and actually everybody knows this about me. If you ever hear me complain, I have a $50 bill that I carry around with me. If you ever hear me complain, it's yours. Ever about anything. I will never complain. And people don't believe that because they're holding on to their old identity of complaining about things somehow makes them feel or makes them blame it on somebody else. That's something that they had no control over. And so I never complain. And when I get in the elevators here at the high rise and maybe one's broken or slow, here we go. Wind them all up. They're just complaining. They can't do anything about it. Conversely, I have a bet. You'll like this as a martial artist. I have a bet. $5,000 if anybody can ever make me angry. $5,000. I will pay anyone in this world if they can make me angry. Why? Because I applaud my emotional control, because those are little energetic units. I'm going to put them into love. I'm going to put them into money. I'm going to put them into emotional control. I'm going to put them into health. I don't want anybody to be my puppet master to where they can push my buttons and off I go with uncontrolled emotion. So I was out on a date one night downtown San Diego, and this woman said, so I hear that nobody can make you angry. I said, that's correct. And that you're going to pay $5,000 if somebody could ever make you angry. That's correct. And she goes, anything you want. And she said, what about that guy sitting over there having a drink like 4 or 5 seats away at the bar? Or what about that guy? What if he threw his drink in your face and called you something? Would you get angry? No. She goes, you'd let him do it? I didn't say that. I would get up and he would have a really bad night. But I don't need to be angry to do that.
Yeah.
Anger is not a prerequisite to action. It's a wasted emotion that you could have retained and redirected to something else. So he's going to have a bad night because I'm going to get Nigel, my black belt Taekwondo guy, to jump all over him. So he would have a bad night, but I don't need to be angry to do that. Now, something else that happens when we spoke before. If you have the ability using certain linguistic tactics to get people attracted to you, I don't mean just romantically, but get people attracted to you. You're building an unconscious army, if you will, of people that are your allies. And they want to be around you. They want to help you. They want to do things because you're a pleasure to be around, because you're not the negative person. You are. So I have a pattern. Nigel, do you know what a pattern interrupt is?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you would. Okay. So I have a pattern interrupt. It's just simply put for the people out there. Pattern interrupt is taking something that normal people do to where it's just like an unconscious agreement and interrupting that pattern. So everybody that knows me for years, if they say, hey, how's it going? What's up out here in San Diego? What up in San Diego? Hey, how you doing? Great. How's your day going? Blah, blah, blah. I have one answer and one answer only. I changed the tonality so that now I have a separate tonality, and I say it just like this. My life is perfect. Uh-huh. Hey, Jim, how you doing today? My life is perfect. When I do that, they light up like a Christmas tree. It's like I sprinkled happy glitter on them. They go, wow, I never hear anybody say that. So that's interrupting the normal pattern of fine, how are you? It's a good day. I'm doing pretty good. How are you? So now I've separated myself. So when I go downstairs to the concierge and I'm walking out of the building, they always say, Jim, good morning. Hey, it's Mr. Positive walking out. I want that moniker.
Yeah.
I don't want like, hey, how are you doing? What is this guy going to come over and start bitching about something? So if you do that, it pays dividends, because even if you're out, people will, they'll buy you a drink. They'll pay for this. They'll let you in when there's no seats.
Does anybody ever challenge you on that, though?
Sure they do.
I guess there's techniques again. So like use of martial arts.
Challenge me on it.
Yeah. Oh. You caught me off guard there.
That's why I don't get challenged. Seriously. So somebody will say to me, they'll say, that's impossible. Nobody's life is perfect. I go, I don't operate under comparative analysis.
Right.
Nobody's tall unless they're short, no light without dark, nothing. So my life is perfect. Now, I do that for 3 reasons. 1, it's a pattern interrupt that creates rapport at a very deep level with those individuals.
Right.
Number 2, I'm reaffirming the destination of my life. My foot's not on the brake pedal. Well, if only this, if only that, no, it is what it is at that moment. So I need to embrace that moment as an ally to move toward where I want.
I see that. I think I was going to say, so you just got I think you got a nice sports car, and you just got it back from the shop, and then somebody crashes into you. Then I would turn around and say, your life isn't so perfect now, is it, Jim? Because
sure it is. Because I'm not looking to detach myself from reality.
Right.
Outside of programming the subconscious, right?
I see that point.
And so my life is perfect because I want to go to the cancer ward. And I want to go into the oncology unit, and there's a beautiful girl, and she's 35 years old. She just lost her hair from her first round of chemotherapy. And I hope she listens to me because somebody bumped into my car today. And I hope that she says,
there you go. What did
I say? I said,
that's the way I assumed that you were going to answer that.
Well, I answered it with, I don't engage in comparative analysis.
Right.
Meaning that it is what it is. There's going to be, so another thing that people ask me all the time, they ask everybody, they go, how's your day going? And I said, I don't know what you mean. Because now I'm assessing my day based on positives, negatives, dislikes, circumstances. I don't do that. When I'm 90 years old or 95 years old, ask me how my life went.
Right.
I can't do the incremental analysis, or I would be the thermometer going all over the place.
I hear you. That's going to require discipline to actually, for anybody to, that's something that you've directed, you've not practiced, but maybe you have practiced, you've conditioned yourself. And I see your response is you've almost like somebody's hit you with a question like that, and you've answered it by redirecting the question and repositioning it. And it already has like a different connotation on the wall over the one that the person that deliberately tried to provoke you had in their mind. They said, well, you can't possibly having a great day if somebody's sort of written your car off. Well, that's true, but it comes back to, somebody's asked me this in the question and they say, how's your day going? And I said, well, I'm above ground and I'm breathing. I've got a roof over my head and I'm not needing anything. Is everything perfect? No. But the way it is, the things that are important, and it's like reframing the potential answer. I think that's kind of a way that is part of the way that you're approaching on.
Well, you're spot on. Perfect is you can interpret that how anybody wants to interpret it. But I challenge anybody to give me a benefit of not answering that. You're endorsing that your car got ripped off, and now you're angry, and now you're pissed off, and now you're cortisol. Tell me how that serves you as an individual. It doesn't. It actually hurts your health. It hurts your mind. It hurts your consciousness. It hurts your unconscious mind. So you learn and reprogram strategies in to where that happens. All anxiety, in my opinion, without physiological underlying, situations, comes from, and this is where the anger and frustration and angst comes from. Not with life not being the way you think it should be and the way you want it. I'm sorry your car got ripped off. You didn't do that. I'm sorry my girlfriend left a note. I'm leaving you. I'm sorry I broke my finger on the door today. I'm sorry I got food poisoning at the restaurant. What life are people living in without learning how to cognitively navigate through something that's simply called life?
I was going to say, at the end of the day, you hit the nail on the head. It's life, isn't it? And it's like life. The definition of life is not a straight line. It's interesting. You're going down cul-de-sacs. It's bringing you back. You're learning all sorts of different lessons. You're going on different terrains. It's not a super highway between San Diego and Los Angeles. It's going through the hills and around the corners and maybe having a few breakdowns on the way before you get to Los Angeles.
Yeah, but you minimize your life impact physically, emotionally, cognitively, knowing that my focus is I'm going to Los Angeles. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I don't care if there's traffic. I don't care if there's a rainstorm. I don't care if I run out of gas. I don't care about any of that. I'm going to Los Angeles. So with that amplified goal, millionaire, regaining your health, loving relationship, with that amplified goal, it mitigates and reduces all these little steps that average people focus on.
Right.
They're focused on, so what? So there's another, a friend of mine, we used to talk about this at some of the events we used to do all over the place. And once you're willing to do, I always have to give my disclaimer, morally and ethically. Once you're willing to do whatever it takes, life is so easy. So if I want to go pick up your new book and there's only one copy left and it's in Los Angeles and the mail system is down, I need to drive 2 hours in Los Angeles, Southern California traffic, so be it.
Right.
I don't stress out about it because the goal is I need to get Nigel's book.
Right. No,
I'm okay with whatever it takes to get through that. Now, what happens though, guess what? And you alluded to this earlier, which you're spot on. The people that inhibit their own progression by not knowing the strategies and tactics, they fall back. And the people that become in loving relationships, emotionally aware, millionaire, whatever that is, they don't have any shackles on them. They have released those brakes. So everybody else is still pushing the brakes in traffic. You're just soaring right through because you have nothing but that end goal in mind.
No, I hear you. Let me ask you like a final question.
Sure.
A lot of people are experiencing burnout for the way they're living their lives, either personally or corporately if they're in business for somebody else, working in industry. How do we get them future ready? Given that we're going into this kind of new world order sort of thing, Jim, where especially in tech and whatnot, we're transitioning the way that we are going to need to operate because AI and other things are coming along. That's changing. It's like the fourth industrial revolution type of thing. How do we get our minds future ready from being in a situation of burnout? Can you help the audience with that, please?
Yeah, you're still driving the car with one foot on the brake pedal because what you're describing is fear.
Yeah.
And fear is a memory projected into the future and experienced in the present.
That's a great way of describing that.
So when you amplify subconscious, I bring it back to that. That's my area of expertise. When you amplify that, then you know that your adaptation processes increase and eliminate any of the barriers on the way. You're scared that you might be, insignificant anymore or replaced by a robot or something, along those lines, right? But if you are focused on the end result, it just lowers the volume. So when people are, annoyingly, doing something, I just turn the volume down, and I turn it down using subconscious strategies to where I don't let that volume go up to where people, and that's why people have panic attacks and anxiety attacks. They turn the volume up on the wrong song. They need to turn the volume down and replay, the next song as well. We've conditioned ourselves to where we don't have that cognitive reload or that cognitive storage tank anymore. Like I said, burnout is coming from simply, there's two factors. One, are you physically eliminating the burnout? If you're just living on caffeine and beer and cigarettes and not sleeping and not eating correctly, well, your body's has a direct correlation, psychoneuroimmunology, with the mind as well. So you got to look at just some of the fundamentals and tactics. And the other thing is maybe you need to change careers.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, maybe maybe the Polaroid camera. I know you made $1 million a year selling Polaroid cameras, but you got to let the Polaroid camera go sometimes and pivot and maneuver and adapt to something that you can't control, which is the external environment.
Right. My final question for you is, if you could go back in a time machine until you were, say, 1990, so 35 years, okay, what would you tell yourself if you could be like the Oracle speaking to you? What would you tell yourself about how to prepare for this future life that you are going to be embark on?
Yeah, I would tell myself, I wish I learned to use my mind at a high level in my, around that time, I began learning how to do it until I turned it into an actual career. Basically, a rewind of everything we talked about here, because it's called folding time. If somebody trains with me or you in your area of expertise, they can get more done in 6 months than they can in 4 years trying to figure it all out. I do not know how to cook. I have no culinary skills, but for me to try to figure it out will be almost useless. But if I had a professional chef stand there and say, put a teaspoon of this in and this in and this in, then I could actually do it. So I think the sooner you learn to use your mind, the sooner you connect that you as a whole being, then you're going to find, simply put, my students for years have said it was much easier than I thought it was. I just had to get out of my own way. I had to shift my identity.
I like that term, get out of your own way. I've heard that spoken so many times. I know it's been spoken to me that, Nigel, you can be a 10 or you are a 10. You could be 11 if you get out your own way sometimes. I think sometimes we overcomplicate things, don't we, Jim? And it requires us to step out of ourselves, or as you say, observe ourselves, or to have somebody like yourself to say, I can see so very clearly what you can't. And this is what this is where you need to uncouple from the way you're thinking at the moment.
10-second example. There's two guys standing in Las Vegas, Nevada, or in the Nevada desert. And I asked this guy on my left, what do you see? He goes, I see nothing but sand and cactus and desolate terrain. What do you see? I see the biggest adult playground in the history of the world.
Yes.
What wasn't there yet. And that's what you need to do in your mind. You're not there yet. So you need to fast forward and see with vision, not with sight.
I think so. Jim, this has been fantastic. Tell the audience where we can find you. I know you've got some events coming up, Deep Dive, I think it's called. Where can we find you? And
Sure. Well, let's do that. Thank you so much. So my next event coming up will be Millionaire Mind Design. You can go to millionairemindesign.com and just fill out a form, and the fine person here I will get on a call so I can hear more about what you at. It's a very intimate event. It's taught at the Penthouse downtown. I only take 10 people because we need to dive into each individual. I do a lot of events. Deep Dive is a public event. This is by application. Public event will be March 14th. So you can go to jim@lutesinternational.com, L-U-T-E-S, international spelled out. Shoot me an email. And I'm going to do something, Nigel, since you and I are such good friends. I'm going to leave my cell phone on here. I don't really care. So it's 760-214-0037. 760-214-0037. Shoot me a text. Shoot me an email. Go to millionairemindesign.com. Let's chat. We're going to reprogram you in every aspect to get you to where you want. And Nigel, I hope to meet you in San Diego. I don't know if I'm going to be in the Pennsylvania countryside anytime soon, but maybe.
No, I'll be out your way soon. I know I've got to come out to Arizona and places in the next couple of months for other reasons, but I will certainly, when I'm anywhere near you, you will be hearing from me anyway. And I thank you so much for the time today. I think people will have got a lot of nuggets there. There's a lot of great advice, and I'm sure that's going to set them on a journey. And they're going to want to know, if they don't know you already, they're going to want to come and seek you out. And I hope certainly that's the case. I certainly endorse them to want to do that. You're a guy of great wisdom, great kindness, great optimism, and a great role model to point people in the right direction. So I can't personally thank you enough. And I look forward to probably having a beer with you sometime in the near future. Okay.
I feel the same way, Nigel. Have a great week, and we'll chat soon.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.